to take you back to a time. A time before F-keys, a time before YouTube ad reads, a time where the Dragon Longsword was your pride and joy. Picture you, coming home from a long day at school, the whole day just daydreaming about hopping on the family PC, loading up your favorite new computer game. You type in your username, your password, the world begins to materialize around you. You just recently got members after begging your parents for weeks on end. You struck a deal with your dad that you're gonna mow the grass every Sunday or Saturday, every weekend, so that they'll pay that $5 a month for that stupid medieval knights in shining armor game that you play all the time. Happily, you accepted. You fletched some arrow shafts, you got those cool new ham robes that you were pining after when you saw somebody running through free-to-play quite a while ago. The world is your oyster. You get a private message from one of your friends from the neighborhood. Remember when your real friends used to play this game? Tells you about this awesome new minigame. It's Capture the Flag, but in RuneScape. Somehow you get your hands on a dueling ring, give that bad boy a little rub, and you're greeted with the glowing lights and a full lobby full of players. You spam click that Zami portal and you are eventually let in. The game begins and you're instantly hooked. You're playing for hours on end, and very quickly this becomes the only thing that you're doing for, honestly, several months on RuneScape. Many of you out there have a similar story, might not be quite the same, but what I'm trying to say was Castlewars was packed. In every single world. It was the place to be, it was the bee's knees, it was the place to see people, it was the place to be seen. Without Castlewars, it's very likely that I would not still be playing this game at this point. I still remember seeing a Granite Mall for the first time and just shitting my pants as my opponents bonked my brains out. Thanks for joining me on this little trip down memory lane. In this video, I wanted to take a brief look at the previous popularity of Castlewars, what's going on with the minigame currently, and I did want to explore a few ways how the game can be revitalized and really kind of answer the question, is Castlewars worth saving? Really quick, I am brand new to this whole YouTube thing. If you like this type of content, please subscribe to my channel. It would help me out quite a bit. And if you do have any old memories from the golden age of RuneScape, like 2004 to 2010, hell, even 2012, anything pre-EOC era, drop it down in the comments below. I'd love to read through them. First, I wanted to take a look at what made Castlewars so popular in the first place. It's definitely one of my most cherished minigames, if not the most, and I think one of the big things that was driving the popularity of Castlewars is there really wasn't anything else to do in the game. Sure, you could fish lobsters, you could cut yew trees. I think at this point the Slayer skill was released. Yeah, I do remember like the first time I got an Abyssal Whip and used it here, but I wasn't killing no Abyssal demons, so you know, I could kill some like Bloodvelds or Greater demons or something like that. The kind of cool thing is everybody had their homeworld, and since there wasn't really anything to do, you kept on bumping into the same people. Shout out World 60. So yeah, there was kind of a sense of community that was born of this lack of content to do. So you just kept on making friends with the people that were around you. Which kind of brings me to my second point, is there was a social aspect of Castlewars. You went there with your friends, or you made your friends there from just the people that was there, which was pretty much everybody who always played in your homeworld, so it was all the people that you were always bumping into anyways. This brings me to my last point, a changing player mindset. We were just logging on to have some fun back in the day. There wasn't so much of an efficiency mindset. I'm sure most of you guys have seen posts about it, agree with it yourself. People are a lot more focused and setting goals and achieving those goals lately. I think that's a good thing. I think we're getting older. Our time is much more valuable to us, and we need to be getting something out of our time. We're not 13 years old anymore, and with that growing of age, we're also growing in priorities and playing the game a different way. All in all, there was a beauty to the accessibility of the game. Pretty much everybody PK'd back then in some capacity. Nobody was really that good at it. There wasn't switching, there wasn't hybriding, or at least as far as I know, you kind of just click somebody and you hit them with your rune scimitar. Since anybody could join the game, nobody was too cracked, just like everybody was kind of on a somewhat level playing field. And it was just really easy for everybody to get into. And this brings me to where Castlewars is at now. There is one world where Castlewars games go on, at least in a public sense. I've heard that there are some private teams that host either events or just more dedicated teams, which kind of makes sense if you've been to Castlewars recently. In this one world, there are games all day long. There's always people there doing it. It is fairly active at peak times. I actually made this video at 5:30 Central Time, which is about peak time. I've done about 350 Castlewars tickets so far going for the collection log, and I found that at least in my time zone, Central Time, it gets pretty active around 4:30 and fizzles out around 6:30 or so. So there's definitely like a 2 or 3 hour active period where there's some legitimately competitive games on, and honestly, if you're still like actively playing the game, it's sick as hell. Like, the game hasn't changed at all except for like the weapons, the tactics, etc. If anything, the tactics have gotten better, and the game itself is better than it was in the past, but just with like way less people and in just one world that's going on. I've seen some videos of people talking about griefing. I haven't really seen any of it myself, or at least been able to notice it. I've seen a few people in-game talking about it, saying that they were going to do it to somebody else. Kind of like the equivalent of being like rag listed by somebody back in the day. It's like, oh, I'm gonna rag you, that type of thing. But honestly, I spent a good amount of time here, and I really haven't seen too much of it personally. Not saying that it hasn't going on, just saying that I haven't seen it. The other big thing that you'll notice if you do go to Castlewars nowadays is that if you're not at peak times, there's about 80% of your team that is AFK. I'll cover this in a minute, but Jagex has incentivized people to come back to Castlewars. They have just failed to incentivize people to actually play the minigame. So is Castlewars worth saving? And by saving, I mean bringing more active players in, so there's more active games, you're not having most of your team AFKing. It is frustrating when half your team is AFK and you just get steamrolled the whole time, because the other team is just absolutely stacked. So is this worth changing? Right now, the game is fun how it is, but there is a load of competition. If we're just looking at other minigames, even just other PvP minigames, we have Last Man Standing, and personally, I think Last Man Standing is actually more fun than Castlewars, despite the nostalgia behind Castlewars. But in and of that, I do think that Castlewars is fun. It would be more fun if there were more players actively playing it, but I mean, there shouldn't just be more players playing something for nostalgia's sake or just because I like the minigame. There's going to be another thing that is in the way of, or kind of the reason why a lot of people aren't really playing this, is the efficiency mindset that I've mentioned a couple times already. People need to make gains on their accounts. I'm in a social clan, relatively low level, and even people who have joined, we have a new guy who joined like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and I mean joined RuneScape for the first time ever, and he still has the mindset of like, what will this activity do for me? He already has the efficiency mindset, like before even stepping foot in the game. I think that really has to do with just like us being an older player base. Jagex already did half of the work of getting people to the minigame, but they stopped short of getting people to actively play the minigame. What they did was they added all of the items from the Castlewars reward shop to the collection log. There's a ton of people, myself included, who love collection log content. It's fun to fill it out. We have a completionist mindset while playing video games, and that's just 39 more things to complete. The only problem is that it is now currently more efficient to AFK for your tickets than to actively play the game. If we do a quick calculation, there's two things that people are going for when they're currently playing Castlewars, other than people who are just like there for nostalgia or there for having fun. They're going for the collection log, which is 800 tickets for completion. That's just because you can sell back the items and then buy the other stuff. You get all of your tickets back whenever you sell it, so you really just need the amount of the highest price item, which is the gold decorative plate body. So 800 tickets for completion. If you're actively playing the game, and I'm going to ignore a lot of the numbers here, you're getting on average 2 tickets per game. Realistically, it's probably slightly less than that because there's only there's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, let's just call it 2 tickets. And then there's time in between games, which I'm going to ignore 2 because I just don't want to do the math. So you're getting about 6 tickets an hour, and realize that it's actually less tickets than this if you're actively playing on average, which leads the collection log completion on just this simple old minigame to 134 hours, which is just abysmal to actually actively play something for 134 hours for such like a small cosmetic gain. Really. The other reason people do this is pures for the Halo, since it does give a prayer bonus. This is 80 tickets, and if we're doing the same calculation, this is 14 hours. On both of these, just realize that it is actually more time than this if you include logging in, trying to get into a game, which can sometimes take 24 minutes, which is super duper fun. And yeah, the time in between the games, which I'm not even accounting for. Currently, the fastest method is to actually go to another world with another account of yours and just AFK and just win games and just boost this with yourself alone, completely AFK. Personally, I just don't believe that the best method for filling out this collection log and playing this minigame should be to AFK it by yourself, and I do think it is worthwhile to return this to its multiplayer social game status that it once was. I didn't just come here to bitch and moan, I came to you with solutions, and to me, the solution's very simple. Instead of just rewarding people for finishing a game, which by all means, don't stop doing that, I will take my participation trophy all day long, thank you very much. Just reward in-game behavior, reward being active, give out tickets for interacting with the minigame, score a goal, get a ticket, kill 5 enemies, get a ticket. I'm sure you guys could think of an endless amount of other activities in Castlewars that could reward you with an extra bonus ticket. All in all, incentivizing people to actively and competitively continue to play the game to rack up more tickets than just their consolation prize for finishing the game. This could obviously be abused by boosters in another world if you're just playing against your own account, just scored continuous goals the entire time, rack up like 10, 15 scores and just get like 20 tickets a game. Would be madness, would be kind of dope. But to prevent this, you could just enable this in designated Castlewars worlds. Obviously, just start with one if Castlewars became more popular, or hell, even enable it in a few worlds. So if you did want to get together with a few buddies and run some legitimate matches against each other, or do like a clan versus clan or a tournament ladder, there would be a little bit of an extra prize and tickets on those extra worlds to incentivize the behavior. All in all, I do think that this would be a great way to make Castlewars more popular, since Jagex basically already gave us a reason to go back to Castlewars, gave us a 134-hour grind to go for here. This would make it more engaging, more fun, and breathe life into a minigame that I've cherished for over a decade.